What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Stack Bitcoin Show. My name is Roman, your beginner-friendly guide to saving in Bitcoin. Choo! All right, today we're going to talk about how much Bitcoin you need to retire. How much Bitcoin do we need to retire? Okay, we're going to look at the Bitcoin price. We're going to look at the annual Bitcoin appreciation rate so far. We're going to look at the inflation rate and how that grows over time. And then we're going to use a fancy schmancy calculator to figure out how much Bitcoin you need to retire based on your needs. Do you need to retire making $100,000 a year? Do you need to retire making $50,000 a year? Do you need to retire living the lavish life making $250,000 a year, right? How much Bitcoin do you need to retire for your given quality of life standard that you want to live throughout your retirement? And we're going to look at that today on this episode. But first, of course, we got to jump into the price of Bitcoin and figure out how much the price of Bitcoin is today. Sorry, I need to adjust some lighting real quick. There we go. How much Bitcoin is worth today, so we can continue on with the show and talk about what you really want to hear about, which is how much Bitcoin you need to retire. So let's get into it. The first segment of the show is the Bitcoin strength. What's the price of Bitcoin today, and how much Bitcoin can you buy for a single dollar? Let's find out. Today the price of Bitcoin is $103,361.83 for one Bitcoin. You can buy 967 Satoshis for a single dollar. What the heck is a Satoshi? A Satoshi is a fraction of a Bitcoin, just like a dollar is made up of 100 cents. A Bitcoin is made up of 100 million Satoshis. So when you look at the price of Bitcoin at $103,000, don't be scared. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin all at once. You don't save up to buy a Bitcoin. You save in Bitcoin. And whatever value you set aside into the Bitcoin system, that value, that purchasing power is shielded from the inflationary system that is the dollar system, okay? As soon as you take some of that value and transfer it into Bitcoin, you are already winning. Even if it's not a whole Bitcoin, even if it's a fraction of a Bitcoin, even if it's a single $1 purchase that got you 967 Satoshis, that $1 worth of value will start to appreciate against a dollar, okay? All right. So let's say you're walking on the street minding your own business. You look down, you see a penny, you pick it up, and all the day that penny could be worth, today actually, 9 Satoshis for a single penny today. 9 Satoshis. When we started the show, we used to get 40 Satoshis for a penny. Now we're only getting 9 Satoshis for a penny. All right. That is the Bitcoin strength. That's the Bitcoin strength right there for you. So let's wrap that up. All right. So let's move on to the next section of the show. This is called... Actually, let's talk about... Yeah, we're going to do the stack recap. And then we're going to talk about... No, I'm sorry, not the stack recap. We're going to do the why we stack. And then we're going to talk about how much Bitcoin you need to retire. Right? Depending on your circumstances. There we go. Real quick. Why we stack. Why we stack. Why do we save in Bitcoin? We save in Bitcoin because we understand that saving in dollars, saving in government money, keeps us poor. It forces us to continue to work harder and harder to earn money that can purchase less and less things. And it's a way for the system, a way for the government to use us, to use humans as economic batteries. We exchange our life hours for money that they can just print. They print the money and we have to work for that money. So how is that fair, right? It's a way for them to keep us busy and a way for them to use us to build their wealth. How do we take the power back? How do we even the playing field? Simple. You buy Bitcoin, you take custody of that Bitcoin, and now the value of your hard-earned labor, your savings, is outside the reach of inflation. And when that happens, your savings start to appreciate against the dollar, and next thing you know, your savings are worth more than you originally put into them, and you start to get some of your time back, right? It's super easy, right? Why do we save in Bitcoin? Because saving in Bitcoin is like traveling back in time and giving yourself a perpetually increasing retroactive raise for the hours you've already worked for, as long as you hold a Bitcoin that represents those hours. If you have any questions about that statement, please put them in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, leave it in the comments. I'm here to help you understand what Bitcoin is, what problem it solves, and in so doing, you'll start to understand that the risk here is not how much Bitcoin you're holding. The risk here is how many dollars you're holding, or how many pesos, or how many yen, or how many euros you're holding, because all of those government issued monies are subject to inflation, and they're being inflated daily, right? As the supply of those monies increases, the purchasing power of the individual units of that money system lose purchasing power. Okay, take the value that you worked so hard for, take the value of your life force that you committed to doing whatever job, whatever business, take your profits and put them into Bitcoin, so you don't have to continue to pay the inflationary cost, the inflation cost. Continue to get debased, right? That is why we stack, and hopefully you understand now why we need to save in Bitcoin. Now let's talk about, okay, fine, you've been saving in Bitcoin, you know what's up, you've been here long enough, you understand what we're doing here. Now let's talk about how much Bitcoin do we need to actually retire, right? How much Bitcoin do I need to retire? How much Bitcoin do I need to retire? First, let's set up some what do we call those? Let's set up some guidelines, I guess you could say. Or let's look up some statistics first, okay? We're gonna use a handy dandy calculator. It's called the Wen Moon Jimbo, the consensualist. It's I'm gonna put it on the screen now. We use this calculator to try to figure out how much Bitcoin you need to retire. Okay. Now this calculator takes into account how much you want to be able to spend. I think it's yearly. So say you wanted to live a lifestyle that in today's dollars would cost you $100,000 a year. You set this number to $100,000 a year. Boom. The annual USD supply increase, so inflation, 12.2%. I mean, 12.2% seems right to me. And the annual appreciation rate of Bitcoin, let's see, based on this handy dandy Google search, it says the last year, the average annual percentage rate was 46% increase. Over the last 5 years, it's been on average 59.9%. Over the last 10 years, it's been 81.7%. So let's just take this number. We'll take this number. We'll take 55%. It's a nice blend between last year and the last 5 years. Okay, we'll make it 55%. Here, 55. Okay. All right, those are the numbers, and of course up here you put in how much Bitcoin you have, right? So let's get started. Right off the bat, let's go with 0.1 Bitcoin. With these parameters in place, if you have already saved 0.1 Bitcoin and you want to retire and be able to sell your Bitcoin retirement could also be your moon date, the date when you don't have to do your job anymore because you have enough Bitcoin saved up that you can start selling it and making $100,000 a year, right? Based off of your stack. Based on the current parameters, being able to withdraw that much money with that inflation rate and Bitcoin appreciation rate of about 55%. September 10th, 2035, September 10th, 2035, so about 10 years, a little bit over 10 years, You can retire with just 0.1 Bitcoin. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. With just 0.1 Bitcoin, you can retire based on what Bitcoin's done so far and inflation rate and the desired amount of money. Okay, that's pretty wild. Let's say you don't want to live in a country. Let's say you don't want to live in the United States. Say you want to go to a different country where the cost of living is cheaper, right? And you can get by with $50,000, right? Because let's say in this other country, the average household yearly income is, I don't know, $8,000. So you're well above the average household income. You were like what, 6 timesing it or 5 timesing it? And so if you have that that much purchasing power, you can live a really comfortable life in a country where it's not so expensive, and you don't have to wait 10 years. You can do it in what? Is it 8 years? In 8 years? And again, we're talking just 0.1 Bitcoin right now, right? How much is 0.1 Bitcoin? What is 0.1 Bitcoin right now? So let's see. We go with it's $10,000, guys. $10,300. $10,300 right now. That's $10,300 saved in Bitcoin right now gets you retirement in about 8 years. Crazy, right? Round of applause from the live studio audience for Hard Huddle. What up, Hard Huddle? Good to see you in here. All right, let's say you let's set this back to 100,000. $100,000 is what you want to retire on. Let's say you've been stacking like crazy. You got yourself to 0.25 Bitcoin, a quarter of a Bitcoin. If you add a quarter of a Bitcoin right now and you just stopped stacking and just held your Bitcoin, right? You could retire in 2032. Oops, why isn't it showing up on the screen? Hang on a second, guys. There it is. Oops. Let me make this fit here. There you go. In 2032. That's when you're retiring if you oh, I know what's going on here. Give me a second, guys. There we go. In 2032. Just like that. Isn't that crazy? And remember, all these numbers are if you already have 0.25 Bitcoin and you stopped stacking. If you continue to stack, the more you stack, the closer you get to your moon date, the date when you don't have to work anymore, the date when you can retire and start living off of selling your Bitcoin, if that's your plan, right? Let's say you keep working at it and you get yourself up to half a Bitcoin, 0.5 Bitcoin, $51,500. $51,500 right now will get you about half a Bitcoin at the price today, and that makes it to where you can retire in about 5 years. Isn't that crazy? In about 5 years, you'll be able to withdraw about $100,000 worth of value from your Bitcoin stack, right? And you'll be good to go, right? Let's say you got to 0.5 Bitcoin. You were planning on retiring here in the U.S. again, like I said, but then you say, you know what? I want to retire soon. I'm gonna go live in like El Salvador. I'm gonna go live in the Philippines. I'm gonna go live in Mexico. I'm gonna go live in any other country that has cheaper cost of living, and you're gonna survive off of $50,000. It's still a ton of money in those countries, guys. $50,000 is a ton of money. Again, you can fast forward your retirement a couple of years, right? And now you're talking about retiring in 3 years. If you have half a Bitcoin right now, you can retire in 3 years and not have to worry about continuing to stack. Carl Black in the house. What up, Carl? We're talking about how much Bitcoin we need to retire today. Okay? If you already have half a Bitcoin in your savings, stacked away, stored, you can start to withdraw or sell a little bit off of it so that you're making $100,000 a year. Oops, is that right? No, $50,000 a year in 2028 in 3 years. Okay, let's set this back to 100,000, right? And let's say you have 0.75 Bitcoin, right? We're about 5 years away from retiring with half a Bitcoin, making $100,000 a year. Let's make this 0.75 Bitcoin. You have 3/4 of a Bitcoin. Baller. 3/4 of a Bitcoin, you're a baller. Still, that puts you at about 4 years away from retirement. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. All right, you stacked your heart out. You did everything you could to get to the 1 Bitcoin goal. When you stacked a whole Bitcoin, you have a whole Bitcoin right now. You are locked in. You're ready to retire in about 3 years, making $100,000 a year, right? Okay. Again, remember, guys, all these numbers I'm giving you are based on you not adding more to your stack. Okay. So on your way to your retirement or your freedom date or your moon date of 7/27 to 2028, you're still going to be working. You're still going to be stacking, right? And even when you get to your moon date, to your retirement date, where you don't need to work anymore, you don't have to quit your job. You can continue to work and just make more, right? Let's analyze that scenario as well, okay? But let's keep going. You are a absolute beast, and you sold everything you have. You're sitting on cardboard boxes. Your furniture is made out of used pizza boxes, and you're eating cup of noodles every day, and you don't have internet. You don't have electricity. You don't have water because you decided to stack all that money into Bitcoin, and you have reached the goal of 2 Bitcoin. 2 Bitcoins. You have 2 Bitcoins. You're a legend, and those 2 Bitcoins, you just have to live that life a little bit longer, because next year, in about a year, right? On June 5th, so a year and about a couple of days, on June 5th, 2026, if you're holding 2 Bitcoins right now, and you're not going to stack anymore, you already have the two coins, you can just sit back and you'll be able to retire or to stop working if you wanted to on, June 5th, 2026, a year from now, a year and a month from now, right? And still be able to withdraw about $100,000 worth of fiat from selling your Bitcoin little by little to live out the rest of your days, right? That's rad. That's rad. But you might say, okay, next year I love my job. I like the way my life is going right now. I want to keep my job. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. So I don't want to necessarily quit my job yet. But if something were to happen, I'd be fine. If I lose my job, then I'm retired. I moon date. I moon, right? But if nothing's forcing you to moon date, you can just keep working your job, right? Keep working your job. Keep building up your stack, right? And since you're not going to retire right away next year, you can start bumping up your retirement allowance, right? Say, okay, instead of living a lifestyle that requires $100,000 a year, I want to live a lifestyle that requires $150,000 a year, and that's going to push your moon date back a couple of years, right? And that's without adding to your stack. Okay, let's say it's going to push your moon date back like a year, basically, right? Okay, push your moon date back a year. You continue to work, do what you've been doing anyway, right? And you get yourself to 2.25, you add another quarter of a Bitcoin to your stack, and your retirement date keeps coming closer to you. So you're like, damn, I'm just gonna continue to work. I want to work to at least another 2 years or so, right? And then next thing you know, you can retire with a bigger allowance, right? Now you're retiring off of $200,000 a year, right? And again, the whole time you've been stacking. But the beautiful part about this is that it comes down to like, okay, well, you get to decide, right? Let's take this back to 1 Bitcoin, because that should be at least your minimum goal, right? And let's look at Carl's dream of living in Baja. Okay, living in Baja with a $50,000 a year salary that just comes from your Bitcoin. If you're already at 1 Bitcoin, Carl, you can go live in Baja the rest of your days. And next year. Yeah, next year. About a year and a half. And you'd be making $50,000 a year just from selling out of your position, right? I don't recommend you do that, but if that's what you want to do, that makes you happy, and then you want to leave anything for anybody, you can do it that way too, right? Now let's go back to 0.5 Bitcoin, half a Bitcoin. If you're already at half a Bitcoin, bro, it's not that much more, just another year, right? If you're already at half a Bitcoin, let's just go quarter of a Bitcoin. Okay, let's keep it super realistic, super cheap. Let's say that you've been stacking along with us on the show, and the show is already at 0.35 Bitcoin, right? 0.36 Bitcoin. So let's say that you stacked a little bit less hard than we did on the show, but you stacked with us. You started since we started. So you're at a quarter of a Bitcoin. Let's say you're at a quarter of a Bitcoin. You're gonna make $50,000 a year when you moon, and still, you could theoretically live out your Baja dream in 5 years, dude. In 5 years, if you already have a quarter of a Bitcoin. If you don't already have a quarter of a Bitcoin, still get to a quarter of a Bitcoin, because the closer you get to it, again, the closer your date gets to your freedom date, right? So, super easy, pretty straightforward. You know, buy the Bitcoin, hold the Bitcoin, and good things happen, right? It is wild. It's wild. Anyway, that's how much Bitcoin you need to retire in 10 years, in 5 years, in 2 years, in 3 years, based on your needs, based on where you want to live and what the cost of living is going to be. You can actually chart it out and figure out how much Bitcoin you need to do that, to retire how you want to retire, to do what you want to do, right? Let's say that you don't want to retire necessarily, and you just want to have more free time to do whatever you like to do, or you want to continue to have your job, right? You continue to have your job, and you're like a hair trigger away from leaving that job, right? Nobody can tell you nothing at that job, right? Because if they do, they'll be like, whatever, I don't need this, I'm out of here, right? Yeah, 1 foot out the door. You don't need this job, right? Take this job and whatever. Right? It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. Here on the Bitcoin, on the Stack Bitcoin show, our stack is about, or is it? Yeah, look it up real quick. We're at 0.364 Bitcoin. 0.364 Bitcoin. Let's see. 0.36 Bitcoin. The Stack Bitcoin show is going to retire to Mexico and surf and fish and dive, making $50,000, selling $50,000 worth of Bitcoin every year, so we can live off of that. And dude, that's only 4 years away. It's only 4 years away, right? We started in 2023. Okay, think about it, guys. I'm looking at the thing here. So think about it, right? The Stack Bitcoin show is at 0.364 Bitcoin, something like that, right? 0.364 Bitcoin, and we want to retire making want to hit the moon date making 50,000 a year, and that date is in 2029. Okay, 4 years from now. 4 years from now. Okay, we started the show and started stacking Bitcoin in 2023. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. In 6 years, right? A cycle and a half. In 6 years, a cycle and a half. The Stack Bitcoin show, if the Stack Bitcoin show was a person, just from dollar cost averaging, like you said, like you've seen, $5, $10, $20 a day, is able to retire in 6 years. That's 6 years, right? 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Yeah, 6 years. In 6 years. That is incredible. That's impressive. It's impressive, right? Anyway, So there you go. That's how much Bitcoin you need to retire. And if you want a link to this calculator, I'm going to put it in the chat so you can check it out and do your own numbers and run your own hopium, your own hopium. But really, what it's about it's about staying motivated and keeping motivated to continue to stack and grow get closer to your moon date, to your retirement date, to your freedom date, when you can do whatever the heck you want with your time and not have to you know what I mean? Do whatever you want. All right. So we covered the topic of the show, which was how much Bitcoin do you need to retire in 10 years? Now let's move on to the stacking portion of the show. Let's talk about how much Bitcoin we have in our possession here for the show. And let's jump into it. It's time for the stack recap, because we don't only talk about stacking Bitcoin here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. We actually do it. And we've been doing it for a while. So, let's see. Today, our stack in 2025, so far we've saved $3,520 and accumulated 0.388 Bitcoin for 2025. That Bitcoin is currently worth about $3,997. In other words, if we were to try to buy the same amount of Bitcoin today with today's weaker money, it would cost us 13.55% more of today's weaker dollars. In 2024, we also tracked that year separately. We saved $7,345.47 into Bitcoin and accumulated 0.1224 Bitcoin. If we were to go and try to buy the same amount of Bitcoin today with today's weaker money, it would cost us 71.51% more of today's weaker dollars. Dun, dun, dun. Right? And finally, since we started the show back on May 22nd, 2023, Bitcoin Pizza Day, our stack has gone from, why is this like that? There it goes. Our stack has gone from from $14,000 worth of value to about $27,000 worth of value. We've almost 100%. We almost doubled the value of our savings just by holding our savings in Bitcoin instead of holding them in cash. Our savings have grown 92.84%. Slaying. And through other ways, through other stacking games and plans, we've accumulated a series of bunch of different little stacks of Bitcoin, and all those combined with our daily dollar cost average amount, we come to the total for the show, which is 0.36498518 Bitcoin for a USD value of about $37,580.77. That is the stack recap. Crazy, right? Crazy how it works. It's crazy how it works. But yeah, slow and steady. We continue to stack. We continue to buy. Like I said, Monday through Friday. All right. So since the price of Bitcoin today is $102,000 and the average buy price for us in 2025 is $92,000, today we're going to buy $20 worth of Bitcoin here on the show for the daily stack. So let's take care of that. Let's do that right now. Now that we know how much Bitcoin we're going to buy, there's only one thing left to do. It's time to stack some Bitcoin. Oops, I turned off the wrong button. Let's keep it going. All right. Let's buy a little stack of $20. $20. 20 dirty. We're gonna convert 20 dirty dollars into some pristine Satoshis right here. Where's my app? I click on the Strike app. I click on the buy button. I click on the 2 and the 0. I hit next. We're queued up. Cut the music. And the Stack Bitcoin live band hits with a drum roll. Confirming buying $20 worth of Bitcoin today on the Stack Bitcoin show to add to the stack to get us closer to our goal of one whole Bitcoin. There it is. The purchase has been completed. And with the purchase, an additional 19,195 Satoshis will be added to the stack. That's some Satoshis right there, okay? 5, 4, 15, 25. The price of Bitcoin we deserve today is 103,203.96. We bought $20 worth of Bitcoin, and that yielded 0.000191995 Bitcoin. 19,195 Satoshis have been added to the stack. And now we take this information and we copy it to our spreadsheet for the proof of stack, proof of DCA. We add it to our list here. Each line on this spreadsheet is an episode of the show. We've been doing this show for over 400 episodes, almost 2 years. Come back for our anniversary episode, which will be on the 22nd, which is Thursday. Yeah, Thursday? Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Let's make sure. May 22nd, right? Yeah, May 22nd. May 22nd, 2023, which will be a Thursday. It'll be a week from today. I don't know how I'm going to celebrate yet. I might just do a giant stack, a giant purchase. I might give away some sats. I'm not sure. Depends. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. All right. So let's keep the show rolling. Have a little bit of fun next with a Q&A segment. But before we jump into the Q&A segment, I have some funny memes I want to show you. Okay? Some funny memes. This is my version of the meme review. We're gonna do three little memes to maybe hopefully you get a laugh out of you, and yeah, see how it goes. Okay? All right, here we go. Our version of the meme review. And if you want to submit some memes for the review, tag me on X or tag me on Blue Sky. I'll be using Blue Sky for these memes. They're pretty good. Here we go. The first meme of the day is it's an Anakin Skywalker and Padme meme. It says Anakin says, "I'm gonna print more money, prices will go up." And then Padme says, "Oh, okay, my salary will go up too, right?" And he just kind of stares at her, and she repeats her question. "My salary will go up too, right?" Oops. That is inflation right there. That is how it works right there. Bam. Bam. Oh yeah, these memes are I saw them on Bitcoin Breakdown's profile over on Blue Sky. So if you're on Blue Sky, go give them a follow. Say thanks for the memes. Next meme coming up is this is the it's got a guy on a rocket that's taking off, and he's riding it, and it says me, the guy on the rocket, and Bitcoin is the rocket. BTC, baby. Let's go. That's a good one. I like that one. All right. And finally, the third meme of the day goes to, let's see, third meme of the day is this one. Oh, it's so good. I like this one. Okay. It's got a guy that's drowning in debt, right? I can't afford to buy Bitcoin. He's whining. He's complaining. He still doesn't want to stack. He's a slacker. Okay? He's not a stacker. He's a slacker. And this is why he can't stack, right? This is a reality of why he can't stack. He says he can't stack because he can't afford to buy Bitcoin. Yet, he's got a Netflix account. He just got a new car. He likes to drink craft beer, which is more expensive than just regular beer or even drinking at all. He takes like vacations. He's got the fastest internet he can afford, even though it's the price for the speed ratio is not that good. But he's got the fastest. He's got a gym membership that he doesn't go to the gym, but he never goes to the gym. He's got a OnlyFans subscription, or he supports people on OnlyFans. right? He's a quote unquote world traveler, traveling around, living on credit card debt. He buys Starbucks every day on his way to work, even on weekends when he doesn't work. He's got the latest and greatest brand new iPhone because he wants to be cool. He spent his money on a useless degree. He's in debt for a degree that doesn't really earn you any kind of income. Like he spent his education money on maybe a field that doesn't produce as much as it costs to get the degree. And of course, he eats out all the time. He doesn't cook at home, and so he can't save on that front. That is what it appears to be, and this is what, to see if he just got rid of some of those things, he could stack a little harder. He could stack, you know. That's how it goes. Anyway, that is some memes right there for you guys to enjoy. Let me know what you guys think. Which one was your favorite one? Any commentary, just put it in the chat or leave a comment on what you think. What you think about those memes? Should we continue to do memes? I kind of dig it. It's pretty funny. All right, so we stacked. We had some fun. We shared some education. We covered how much Bitcoin you need to retire in 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, or 1 year, depending on your needs. And I'm gonna call that a wrap. That's another episode in the can of the Stacked Bitcoin show. We bought Bitcoin, we stacked Bitcoin. What else can you do? What else can you do, right? You buy Bitcoin, you stack the Bitcoin, and you continue. Because it's the best thing you can do. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna pause the music. I'm gonna pause the music, guys. I've been putting up content on TikTok about. I've been making shorts on TikTok to kind of like try to grow the audience here. Maybe get some people to come over and say what's up. And I made a couple of videos over on the Stack Against the Machine account on TikTok. And so I'm going to put the links here in the chat for you guys to check them out. I did one called How Does Money Work? And I break down how the money keeps you poor. And I drew some graphics and stuff. So here, I'm going to put this in here so you can see it. Here. Right here. There it is. How does money work? Right? Money work and how it's used to keep you in the rat race, working harder and harder, 2 jobs and an Uber on the side, and you still can't make ends meet. Let me tell you why. Hey, my name is Roman. I'm your beginner-friendly guide. There it is. Bitcoin. So do me a favor, guys. Go over there and give this video a watch. And if you're on TikTok, that is. Right? I put it in the chat. It's actually doing pretty well. That one and also this other one I did. Look, guys, I put this one out yesterday, and it already has 3,584 views since yesterday. Right? I put the same exact video out on YouTube, and it has like 10 views. Like 10 views. Come on, something's wrong here. Something ain't right. Something ain't right there. Right? Let's see content. Where are we? Shorts. Oh yeah, on YouTube since yesterday, it's got 139 views. On TikTok, it's got 3,584 views. So something ain't right. Okay. Anyway, back to wrapping up the show. Go over there and check it out. And hopefully people that start finding my content over there start coming here, and we can unify it under one platform. I'd rather do YouTube because I like the format. I like to be able to stream to YouTube, but we'll do whatever works. All right, let's see, where were we? Right here. All right, wrapping it up. back to the ending of the show. Hope you guys enjoy this episode of the Stacked Bitcoin Show. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another one. But until then, remember, if you ain't stacking, you're slacking. Later.